Hello, this is going to be some 190 Q&A practice. I'm going to start off with a small selection. It's about a page long, and then go ahead and reread it again at 190, and this will start with the plaintiff attorney. Okay, ready? You mean a 9-year-old boy? You say he's 9. He's 12. He's either 12 or 13 now. Do you know what school he is enrolled in? He isn't in school. What school is he supposed to be in? Well, he was supposed to be in San Fernando Middle School. I believe he was supposed to have been in there. How would he get there? How would he get there? It would be by bus. Is there a bus that comes up to your property where you live now? His mother lived all over the area. His mother used to live on Walnut. Then she moved in another place. So you don't know? I don't know. She doesn't say where she goes for some reason. You are just taking care of him? That's right. He needs someone to mother and father him. I see. You were sort of like an informal foster parent? Right. He loved horses. When the kid got out of hand, you know, they all go through that. Was there anything in particular that might have caused the breach between you and Brian? No. Just a culmination of things? Yes, I just felt that he should go home, you know. You mentioned that he had a reputation for being a storyteller. Yes, he does tell tales. Okay, so now I'm going to reread this again at the same pace. I will read this at 190. Ready? You mean a 9-year-old boy? You say he's 9. He's 12. He's either 12 or 13 now. Do you know what school he is enrolled in? He isn't in school. What school is he supposed to be in? Well, he was supposed to be in San Fernando Middle School. I believe he was supposed to have been in there. How would he get there? How would he get there? It would be by bus. Is there a bus that comes up to your property where you live now? His mother lived all over the place. His mother used to live on Walnut. Then she moved in another place. So you don't know? I don't know. She doesn't say where she goes for some reason. You were just taking care of him? That's right. He needs someone to mother and father him. I see. You were sort of like an informal foster parent? Right. He loved horses. When the kid got out of hand, you know, they all go through that. Was there anything in particular that might have caused the breach between you and Brian? No. Just a culmination of things? Yes, I just felt that he should go home, you know. You mentioned that he had a reputation for being a storyteller. Yes, he does tell tales. Okay, I'm going to switch transcripts. This subject is an automobile that hits a cow. Again, like I've said, you never know what you're going to hear in depositions or in court. So if you live out in the country, you could very well hear something like this. All right, I will read this at 190. Ready? What is your name? Mrs. Beth Fredson. Where do you live, Mrs. Fredson? I live on a farm south of Parkville. Since when have you lived there? Since when? Yes, since we moved there April 8, 2008. Are you acquainted with the plaintiff in this action, Mr. Arthur Fredson? Yes. In what way are you related to the plaintiff? He is my husband. He is your husband. Where were you on or about April 8, 2008? About 9 in the morning, Mrs. Fredson. We were all on the road moving to our new farm. How do you recall the date? Anything particular? Well, I just happen to know that is the day we moved, and that was the day that we had an accident while moving. Was there anyone helping you move? Just my husband and I. We did all the moving ourselves. What did you use to carry your belongings? We had a trailer pulled by our truck. Did you move any farm animals? Yes, we were moving our 2 milk cows and a calf. How were they connected to the truck? Well, the horses, 2 cows and our calf, were in the back of the trailer. Then, as I understand it, the cows were directly behind the truck in a trailer right before the accident happened? That is right. Where were the heads of the cows? Well, the 2 that were tied to the back of the trailer were right up next to the rear of the trailer. There was a rope on each of them that was probably 2 feet long. They were just tied somewhat, so they were secure. Where was your husband driving during this trip? He was up front driving the truck. And where were you located? I was in the passenger seat watching the animals. You testified before Mrs. Fredson of an accident that occurred when you were making this trip. Would you briefly describe what you were talking about? Well, we stopped along the road to rest a little bit because the cows seemed nervous, so we let them out to graze, and one of the cows was hit by this car, which was coming down the road in the opposite direction. Where did you stop? Did you stop on the road? No, we pulled off to the shoulder of the road. Off of the road? Yes. And where were you? Were you going in what particular direction? We were going south towards Parkville. Okay, this car that struck your cow, in what direction was it traveling? It was going north, away from Parkville. What harm was done to the cow outwardly? I mean, what was visible to the eye? Well, that cow's leg was broken. Was it any special type of break? I don't remember what they called it. I didn't see it myself, but I know the cow was knocked down and couldn't get up. What type of cow was this? It is called a Guernsey. A Guernsey cow? Right. Was she a very docile cow, very quiet? What was the nature of the cow? She was a very well-behaved cow. Did she frighten easily? No. Have you ever had her on public streets or roads or thoroughfares such as this before? We have grazed her along this same road before. It was when we lived on our farm near Oak City, and she was very quiet when cars went by, paid no attention to them. And how wide was this road, Mrs. Fredson? Well, I would say it was about 30 feet wide. Where was the defendant's car in relationship to the center line of the road as it proceeded northward? It was coming down the middle of the road, or maybe a little bit on the wrong side of the road, or left-hand side of the road. Was the driver alone? No, there was somebody else with him, a man. What did the car do after the cow was struck? It continued up the road a little ways and then stopped. What did your husband say? Did he say anything, or did you say anything at the time? I know I said to my husband that the cow had been hit. After this car stopped, did anything transpire? Did anyone do any discussing of the subject matter? Well, this man who was driving the car came back and talked to my husband. I remember he gave him, my husband, his insurance card and information. Why did you keep the cow? Why did you and your husband have this cow on your farm, Mrs. Fredson? Well, we kept it to get milk for ourselves and to get milk to sell. So particularly for milking, is that right? Yes, that is right. Do you say that you didn't raise this cow for beef? Is that correct? No, we raised it for milking, just for milking. She was not a beef cattle. What kind of milk did she give? She gave very high-grade milk. How much milk did she give a day, that is, on an average? I would estimate 4 gallons a day. We milk twice a day. We usually got 2 gallons each milking. Did your cow appear to be in normal health and average condition before you started out on this trip and as you were in the process of it? Absolutely, yes. Had you milked her at all that day? Yes, we milked her in the morning before we left. I wonder if you told us how far off to the side of the road you went when you stopped for a rest. Can you tell us how far to the right side of the road you pulled over? There is a shoulder on the road. I am sure that we pulled clear over to the point where our left wheels were just barely on the road, maybe just 6 or 7 inches, and the right wheels were clear off of the roadway over to the shoulder. Now, is that in relation to the front wheels of the trailer that you are speaking of? Both the front and the back wheels. They were parallel, is that it? Yes, they were parallel, just as close as it would be possible to get them that way. When you stated that the road was 30 feet wide, did you mean that to be just the road, or did that figure include the road and the shoulders? No, that is just the road part. Can you tell us how wide the shoulders are? Oh, I think they must have been 6 or 7 feet wide. Okay, we have just a few more seconds. I'll give you just a few more seconds of reading here, okay? Here we go. Doctor, I wonder if you could tell us what significance, if any, in your examination of Mr. Johnson you placed upon these statements allegedly made by Mr. Johnson, such as the ones I repeated to you. I'm sorry I shot the officers out there. I just shot. It doesn't mean anything to me anyway. This was made shortly after he was taken into custody, I assumed. I examined him about that several times. I asked him specifically, and he didn't recall making those statements. Information indicating that at that time he was episodically in and out of an amnesia state where he was moved from one room to another without remembering it and not recalling part of his x-rays, and he didn't have any recall of that. Doctor, you practice over at the Orange County Medical Center, is that right? Yes. Are you at all familiar with the emergency room procedures? To some extent, yes, I am. Do you have any knowledge whether it's customary to leave a patient in the emergency room unattended by any medical personnel when that patient has been wounded? I don't believe it's customary. Okay, so that concludes our Q&A for the 190 practice class. Have a great day.